If you've watched the last few videos in this series, you probably already know that it isn't that you need to do more. It's that your business has outgrown the way it's currently being run. And that's where things start to feel like they're breaking, even when the business looks successful from the outside. Nothing is going wrong. It's that you're still operating inside a business where you're required to coordinate all the moving parts and, in some cases, be the operator in the business. So, in this video, I want to show you what changes when you show up for your business, not in your business, by showcasing a recent CEO capacity review. Because this is where growth either keeps feeling like it's pressure or it feels expansive and supported. This CEO capacity review was for a career coach. And what stood out pretty quickly was that she was trying to expand into that next phase of growth while still running a business that depended mostly on her time, her memory, and her ability to keep track of all of the moving parts. She had client work, a contract role, a volunteer leadership position, family responsibilities, admin, prospect conversations, and then all the things that she really wanted to achieve, like events, lives, landing pages, outreach, and a lot of new ideas. At one point, she said something that I think a lot of people at this stage would recognize. It's that she was busy, but not on the things that directly generate income. And that was the first thing. Her CEO time was not really protected, even though on paper it really looked like she was trying. We discussed her color coded calendar, and I could see that she was making an effort to block things out. In fact, her calendar is one of the most organized calendars I've ever seen, but her strategic time was not being honored and it was still getting crowded out by more immediate things. Her contract work, meetings, admin, and client work, they all crept into that strategic time. The work that she wanted to do on the business was still being treated as if she'd get to it once there was enough time or space left over. So, what ended up happening is that the bigger, more revenue producing work stayed undone and half formed. Ideas lived in ChatGPT, her journal, sticky notes. She might have had the concept for an event, a landing page, a lead magnet, but she was not getting to the point of deciding a title, a date, the next step, or even know what was happening with it. The second thing is that the systems were not really containing the business yet. She said delays affected basically everything: onboarding, delivering, offboarding, because she basically was doing those tasks as she was able to. Her ideal flow was clear. Someone inquires, they consult, the contract goes out, the invoice goes out, they book that first session, and everything is moving and on its way. But that's not consistently being held by the business just yet. Weekly check ins with clients could just fall off and turn into quick emails or just wait until that next session. And website inquiries could just get missed in the inbox. And the sharpest example that really tells the story was the prospect that she lost because things didn't go out timely. They had a good conversation, the person was interested, but the information didn't go out quickly enough. And the prospect told her if this is what it was, that a delay happened before they even started working together, then what was it going to be like in that relationship and maybe it wasn't gonna be timely either, and I understand that. I'm sure this has happened to more than just one of us here. And then there is the lead generation piece, which I think is really important because this is where people assume that it is a marketing issue when sometimes it's really about rhythm and containment. And she said she doesn't really have consistent lead sources in her own business, but a contract role helps fill the stability and the gaps, but her own lead sources are just really inconsistent. She knows what has worked for her in the past, but she's not doing them consistently right now. Warm outreach creates real conversations, but it feels a little outside of her comfort zone. And she even had an experience with her dormant Facebook group where just one manual follow up led to someone booking a sale. So, what I keep seeing there is not someone who can't create leads. It's someone whose lead generation still depends on personal effort instead of rhythm in the business. And this is where we finally get to see what it's like to lead like a CEO. Because in her case, this isn't about becoming more polished or suddenly more disciplined or finding that one magical app she hasn't used yet. It's much more about what stops depending on her and what finally gets held somewhere other than in her head. So, what changes after she implements the recommendations of a CEO capacity audit? Her time and energy changes first. Instead of losing so much of herself to email, invoicing, follow up, remembering things, and trying to keep all the open loops alive, that energy that she's expending can move back towards the work only she should be doing. In her case, she said pretty clearly that if the admin work were lifted, she would spend more of that time on live sessions, events, connections with ideal clients, and making bigger revenue decisions. So it's not just her calendar that feels lighter, it's actually her role inside the business that gets smoother. The systems and workflows start changing too, but not in that vague, better organized way that some people talk about. More like the business stops requiring her to personally play catch from all the falling objects. And so a website inquiry is less likely to disappear into the inbox. The consultation follow up does not depend solely on if she remembers it late at night. And you may be tempted to think that AI agents are the solution here, which could be, but only after the system has been defined. So, what does it feel like to lead like a CEO? Well, weekly client communication wouldn't thin out every time the week gets crowded. And that's really where the CRM matters in her specific case. She said she was really hesitant to bring in more leads until that was in place, which really makes sense. If the system isn't ready, more leads will feel chaotic. The decision bottlenecks start changing too. She was sitting in a space between idea and decision, and not because she's not smart enough to make the decision, and not because she lacks vision. It's more about that the business was asking her to hold too many open loops at once. So when a CEO capacity gets clearer, that mental drag will ease. It gets easier to move from I should do this at some point to this is the thing, this is what's happening next, and this is the timeline. It really sounds kind of small when you say it out loud, but it changes the way you feel about the whole business. Growth readiness, which was what really matters. She talked about taking on a potential partner opportunity that was a little larger and admitted that she was a little afraid because of the capacity, not whether she could do good work, because she's an expert, but whether or not the business could hold on to it. And she talked about having that growth opportunity and knowing what it actually looks like in practice because she had a previous contract with 15 students and an executive assistant that helped handle capacity with such as emails, project management, and communication. To me, that's an important distinction because she's not asking for growth just because the sake of growth. She wants a business that can support growth without asking her to carry all of it personally. So, when I look at a case like this, what changes when she leads like a CEO is not something abstract and out there. It's that the business stops leaning on her in so many unnecessary places. Her time stops being spent on things that should already being taken care of. Her systems stop depending on her memory, and her decisions stop piling up as open loops. New opportunities stop feeling like a threat. Her bandwidth, not good. And her role starts looking a lot more like the role she actually wants, which in her case is more one to many work, more events, more visibility, more connection with the people that she can provide transformations for and who she is here to help. So she has a lot less patching, chasing, mentally holding things together what the business should be actually holding for her. This is exactly the kind of thing that I look into on a CEO capacity review. Not just what's on your plate, I think you know that already, but what is in your business that depends on you more than you think it should. And if your business feels heavier than it should in some places, that is where I would start looking first. If you're watching this and thinking, yep, this feels a little, or if the case study really sounds like where your business is at right now, then a CEO capacity review might be the right next step. If you're wondering if it could be a fit for you or if you are ready for that kind of clarity, you can learn more at the link below and book a CEO capacity review there.